How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Now that the reboot of Wrong Turn has been released and I've reviewed all of them, today we're going to stop and rank all 7 movies from the worst to the best. I'll leave a link to the playlist with my reviews of all 7 movies in the description in case you missed any of them, but in the meantime, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on the Wrong Turn movies were. Which one was your favorite? Which one was your least favorite? Let me know so we can discuss. As a reminder, this is just my list, not a definitive ranking. I'm sure we're going to disagree somewhere. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my channel out there and growing the community. And if you are new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's rank the Wrong Turn movies. In last place, it's Wrong Turn 6, Last Resort. This one's just confusing as it's listed as the first attempt at a reboot of the franchise, but it's also called Wrong Turn 6, implying it fits within the timeline of the original movies, even though that really doesn't add up at all. But either way, this one is, to be perfectly honest, abysmal. They just took all the worst qualities of many of the other movies and just exacerbated them. Poorly written dialogue, horrendous acting, bad special effects, but even more than all those things, this is just flat out boring, where the cannibals take a back seat and we're mainly subjected to long sequences of family squabbling between our protagonist and his mysterious relatives that, frankly, I couldn't have cared less about. And it's all made worse by all the other elements I just mentioned. It's played with everyone just overacting all this terrible dialogue for long stretches of time, with only a few sequences here and there of the bloody violence we've loved in some of the other movies. And I couldn't even call it so bad it's good, unfortunately. I'll be honest, I mentally checked out of this one about halfway through, and it's easily the most forgettable of all these movies. In 6th place, Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. Of all these disappointing sequels, this was by far the most disappointing, and it really should have been a lot better than it was. Mainly for the fact that it brought in Doug Bradley, aka Pinhead from the Hellraiser movies, to play Cannibal's caretaker Maynard Odets. And he winds up being the absolute best part of this movie, but he's undermined by all the same problems that the 6th movie had. It confined most of the action to a local jail, with long stretches of characters arguing with one another, though with the occasional taunting by Odets thrown in there. The bloody violence that made the other movies watchable comes and goes so quickly that the film doesn't even give you a chance to have fun with it. And instead, there's more of an emphasis on the comically bad acting, terrible dialogue, and forgettable characters. It's only just a hair better than the 6th movie, but it's otherwise another pretty boring, underwhelming experience. In 5th place is Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. Noticing a pattern here? I didn't particularly care for this one either, but this is at least somewhat tolerable compared to 5 and 6. While we do get more moments of the cannibals wreaking havoc here, and they're much more entertaining than its sequels, at least in a so bad it's good way, we also have about 9 characters here facing off against the cannibals, and of all the protagonists in these movies, they are by far the most obnoxious of the bunch. The terrible acting by nearly everyone aside, they're just insufferable due to the fact that they scream and yell every other scene, and they have these weird encounters where they'll walk in on each other having sex and just start chatting it up like nothing else is going on. They make decisions also that are even dumber than what you're normally used to getting in your typical horror movie. There were several times they could have just put a stop to everything, and they just don't, simply because the script calls for it, not because it's the natural thing to do. And while I had enough fun when we got our usual over-the-top violence, the many instances of the characters on their own often undermine my overall enjoyment of the film. In 4th place is Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. This is actually kind of okay. I wouldn't exactly find myself revisiting this one anytime soon either, but there's still enough of the so bad it's good quality to it that the elements I flat out didn't like also didn't derail the whole experience for me. It's once again some of the same elements that plagued the other sequels, like the bad acting, the really obviously bad special effects, the unlikable characters, like nearly everyone here who is in this one rafter named Alex is just an outright terrible person, and we get wrapped up a bit too much sometimes in these prisoners who are our main characters, trying to double cross one another while also dealing with the cannibals, and some of the bickering was just really unnecessary for the most part. Even though it shares many of the same qualities as the sequels that I ranked lower on this list, I think maybe because it was only the first time it was so noticeable for me that I didn't mind it as much. Not sure there, but I think there's still enough of the B-movie fun here that makes this a decent enough experience for what it is. In 3rd place is the first movie, Wrong Turn. And this is pretty fun for what it was. Though the funny thing about this whole series is that it stemmed from a movie that is by no means a classic itself to begin with. It's a straightforward premise with pretty one-dimensional characters. The only difference here compared to the sequels is that all the characters are being played by fairly noticeable actors, including Eliza Dushku, Desmond Harrington, and a few others you'll recognize from some of your favorite TV shows. So at least the performances are fine here for once. It's a fairly bare-bones movie though, but at least we got some creative setups out of it, as it tries having some fun with its woodland environment, with characters running around rooftops and trying to outmaneuver the cannibals in these interesting ways. So it's thrilling and suspenseful enough where it needs to be, and the characters aren't totally unbearable. So it makes for a solid enough B-movie. In second place is Wrong Turn 2: Dead End. It seems to be a toss-up in the original series as to which is the better entry, either the first or the second movie, and I'm gonna go with the second movie here, though it's by no means a perfect movie itself. I do think this is the first time we get introduced to one of the worst reoccurring elements of the series, which are pretty unlikable characters, as you have a few people who are supposed to be protagonists who do nothing but act like obnoxious frat bros the entire time, and they get on your nerves very quickly. But we do have one cast member who genuinely makes up for it, and that's Henry Rollins, who plays a Marine colonel who's also the host of this reality show, and he really goes all in for the campy, goofy, over-the-top performance that fits well with the film's silly B-movie vibe, and he made for some fun comedic relief. Some of the film's attempts at gross-out violence doesn't land all that well, as it attempts to be edgy for the sake of it, but most of the action scenes are actually a lot of fun, and the film moves at a nice quick pace that doesn't make you dread getting through it like many of the sequels did. So similar to the first, if you like these sort of B-movies and you haven't seen this yet, you should definitely check this one out. But in first place is Wrong Turn 2021, or Wrong Turn: The Foundation. This time it's not cannibals, but a cult known as the Foundation. I know this might be an unpopular opinion. I've heard some people call this one of the worst entries. I've heard some people say it's mediocre, or it doesn't make sense, or some other criticism, but I genuinely enjoyed it. Like the first two movies, it's by no means a classic itself, and I do think there were some notable issues with it, but I do like this attempt at trying to give us a story that's a little more compelling than just a group of totally obnoxious people getting mowed down by these cannibals we learn nothing about. I know that's part of the point of these movies and is part of what makes them fun for what they are, but I found myself more invested in the characters here than I did any of the characters in all the other movies. I'm not saying they're the most well written themselves by any means, but there was at least a legitimate attempt at trying to get us to care, and it worked for the most part, so I can respect that. Plus, the film still has some of that bloody violence that made the other movies so enjoyable, though it's just not presented in a comically over-the-top manner this time around. Plus, this is the first time since the first movie where the performances aren't so laughably bad. Even if the characters themselves aren't the most complex, we at least had some strong performances to make up for it, mainly from Charlotte Vega, Bill Sage, and Matthew Modine. I don't find this to be one of the greatest horror movies in recent memory or anything like that, but I think it does a good job at giving us some solid action-packed moments and eerie suspense that makes for an entertaining horror film, and that puts it as my number one entry in the Wrong Turn series. And that's that. Going through all these movies for the very first time was something else, but it was fun. It just got a little tedious towards the end, where it was movie after movie that had a lot of the exact same problems. I'm just glad the reboot wound up being the light at the end of the tunnel I was hoping it would be. I don't know what's going to happen as far as if they're going to make any sequels. I guess we'll wait to see how the reboot does on VOD. Though, if this was just a one-off, I'd also be totally okay with that too, to be honest, as it ends the series on a pretty good note. So let me know, what's your favorite Wrong Turn movie, and what's your least favorite? Did you agree with this list at all? Did you disagree? Did you even get through all these movies? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.